Good evening, folks. This is the CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku update for the week ending March 18th, 2016. It's Sunday night, the 20th. Let's get going with the ES. You'll notice that I have some fibs on this chart. These are fibs drawn the way that I draw them, which is that I disregard the wicks and go from the candle closes. So in this case, the top, this is a swing fib. So we're going from 2024.50, this candle close, this highest candle close, down to this 1860 lowest candle close here. I thought these fibs were pretty interesting because the 88.6 level is obviously was important in this area here, and it gives us a potential target for the upside here around 2068. So just some fun with fibs, CloudChartist style. Now I'm going to get rid of them. We'll just look at the clouds. And let me zoom out a little bit. So you see that we've been in a really strong uptrend for the last several weeks, and we are still above the cloud. For the third week in a row, we put in a close above the cloud. In Ichimoku terms, this is bullish in all ways, except for a few little more trivial details in that the Tenkan-sen, this blue line down here, is bear crossed below the Kijun-sen. For this chart to be fully bullish, you really want to see the Tenkan-sen above the Kijun-sen. You also want to see the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen above the cloud. But otherwise, this is a bullish chart in an uptrend. The only thing that's is a little bit of a topping tail on last week's candle, but otherwise it's a very bullish candle. We do have, however, a very thin cloud below. This thin cloud is going to be persisting until it becomes thicker, and that's going to happen in the last week of May. I've been talking about this thin cloud for the last several weeks. Whenever you see a thin cloud in Ichimoku, it suggests the potential for tighter price action. So it wouldn't be surprising to see some flagging action here throughout this area where there's a thin cloud representing underneath. Also, sometimes you notice there's a very thin cloud here, and it twists, and then it also twists again here. Sometimes where there's cloud twists, price action can break through the cloud. So if we do get a reversal in trend lower and price action gets closer to the cloud in this area, we could it could be in danger of breaking back down through the cloud. And this first cloud twist is going to be April 4th. And the other cloud twist is going to be May 2nd, thereabouts. So keep an eye on those areas during after that time period. But the ES is bullish in always Ichimoku. Let's go to CL. CL, we just had a contract roll. So I'm using the continuous contract here. There's not enough information on the actual new contract to the K6 contract in order to get a full weekly Ichimoku chart. So on shorter time frames, I would be using the exact contract, but for now I'm using the continuous in order to get the data. I hope you get that. So we see that we had a bullish break above the Kijun-sen last week after closing, let's see, I think we closed right on the Kijun-sen last 2 weeks ago. So last week we broke over the cloud, over the Kijun-sen and headed towards the cloud here. But let's take a look at the monthly. I posted this chart on Twitter because this is important. The monthly, we came up and tested the Tenkan-sen and got rejected by it slightly. Let me zoom in so you can see that. The Tenkan-sen is at 42.52 and the high was at 42.49, so actually it missed it by 3 cents, but it's still close enough. So be aware of that potential resistance on the monthly time frame at the 42.52 level on crude. If you're thinking that we're going higher, let's go back to the weekly since this is the weekly Ichimoku wrap. So as far as crude going higher, we do have a bit of a topping tail here on this candle. It's a bit of a spinning top candle as there's a topping tail and a bottom tail. So it's possible that we could get a pullback. If we do get a pullback, we can look to the 38.49 Kijun-sen to offer support. If we do move higher, We don't have any resistance right here that we can see except the cloud ahead, which is going to be at, let's see, at about 46.79, thereabouts, 47. But the Chikou, this red line over here representing price action time shifted 26 periods into the past, is going to come into resistance at the Tenkan-sen before that happens, and that is going to happen at about 43.54. So keep an eye on that 43.54 level. It's also prior support resistance level. It was resistance in this area after we got this bounce. That wasn't a very strong bounce though, because we didn't even test the Tenkan-sen there. But so do keep an eye on that level, and then the cloud as far as moving forward. Another bullish situation here on crude is that the Tenkan-sen is tipping up as if heading for a potential bull cross, which could happen if we do get bullish momentum that brings us probably up to the cloud. We will probably get a bull cross. A bull cross would be likely. Moving forward in time, we see that we have the same level of cloud resistance until late into April. Then it goes slightly higher, and there's potential a thin cloud here in isthmus, shall we say, where price could actually potentially break through to the upside. But that's quite a ways away, so that's just a potential guess. Let's look at some other stock indexes. Let's look at the Dow. You probably hear my neighbor's dog barking as usual. So the Dow is bullish in Ichimoku terms. The put in a very bullish candle last week. In fact, it was more bullish than some other indexes. We do have, however, a flat cloud below, a rather thin cloud, not as thin as ES. It's thicker actually in this area. But flats in Ichimoku do attract. We're not at all overbought. You see the RSI down here. Make the RSI smaller, it's kind of big. We have the Chikou over the cloud here. So if we do get a pullback, we can expect the Chikou to come back and test the top of the cloud right here at around 17,320. So if we do get a pullback, and you can see that was prior support resistance area around 17,320, 330. We could find support at that area. So if we do flag, I would be looking at potentially buying that 17,320, 330 area on the Dow. Let's look at the Russell. Russell is bearish in Ichimoku terms still. It's under the cloud, but we are still making bullish progress. We did put in a higher high and a higher low last week after putting in a potential reversal candle. We did not confirm the reversal. This is a hammer candle, potentially a bullish candle for higher prices. We see the Chikou is potentially coming into resistance at the bottom of this bearish candle here. That level is approximately, let's call it 111. Let's call it 1112, 1113. So do keep an eye on that level. That's prior support here. This area here, like the 1113 area. Keep an eye on that for offering potential resistance if we do move higher on the Russell. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq was quite strange last week. If you are trading it, you noticed it was extremely weak. Nobody could really figure out why. These fibs were drawn on a different time frame, perhaps the daily. Yes. These fibs I drew on the daily time frame, and I thought it was important to note the 61.8 is coming up here at 44.27.47. That was prior support here, and then support was lost. So that could be a potential resistance level to keep an eye on, that 44.27.50 thereabouts. Let's go back to the weekly. Let's get rid of the fibs. Zoom back in. The Nasdaq is bullish. You see that we continued higher with a higher high, a higher low. A little bit of selling pressure at the top, probably due to Friday's candle. But overall, this chart looks good for higher prices, although the cloud is slightly lower for the next couple of weeks, 3 into actually the middle of April. Then we have a cloud twist. So if we do see selling, this would be a precarious area to be careful of a potential breakthrough the cloud lower. But we do have this nice rising cloud here offering support higher. Although this nice rising cloud did not offer support. This one might, if we do manage to stay above the cloud. But the Nasdaq remains bullish in Ichimoku terms. One could say it's sort of oscillating here. Let's move on to some metals. I realize I'm getting closer and closer to the US Open, and the futures are going to open and give us new candles. I'm trying to get done before that happens. So in gold last week, we see a almost a doji type candle, almost a long-legged doji type candle. We were unable to get above this 1262 level once again. We do have a change from last week in that the Chikou, this red line over here representing price action, time shifted 26 periods into the past, is outside of the cloud now. It's no longer bound by the cloud. It does have lower support though. It doesn't have support until here on the cloud, which is around 1239 thereabouts. So if we do sell, that 1239, 1240 area is going to be an important potential support. As far as moving higher, we really need to get above the 1262 level to really get going on gold. Let's look at silver. Silver does look like on the longer time frame that it's putting in sort of a bottoming pattern, potential inverse head and shoulders type pattern. But we do note that silver put in a weird spiky type move almost up to the top of the cloud here. The top of the cloud is at 1620, 16208 actually, but let's call it 1620. The high of the candle was 1617, so it almost made it to the top of the cloud and then was pretty summarily rejected. We have a lot of wicks in this very area above 1584. We see that that was important resistance here, and then became support, and then resistance again. Stayed resistance until we got up here, was resistance again. Sold off from there, came back. So that's 1584 is very key for silver, so do keep an eye on that level. We see that the Chikou is actually bashing right into the Kijun-sen right at that 1584 level, so very important. If silver does sell off, we will have support at the bottom of the cloud here around 1530.25. That was also an important level previously. It was support here. It was resistance here. These levels tend to play out over and over again in silver. If we do lose the cloud support, then we have support down here at the Kijun-sen at 1499.15. That $15 level is an important psychological level also for silver. All right, let's go look at some treasuries. Let's look at the 30-year ZB. ZB on the weekly put in a bullish reversal last week after coming down and testing the Kijun-sen at 161.03. Actually, the close was at 161.01, so we did close slightly under the Kijun-sen, but we managed to bounce anyway from that level. We weren't, however, able to get above the Tenkan-sen. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Tenkan-sen is at 164.13, and we weren't able to even test that. So that will be resistance, potential resistance going into this next week, unless the Tenkan-sen opens in a different location. It's possible that since we didn't test it, it could be flat. In fact, it could even be flat at this exact 164.13 level. So do keep an eye on wherever the Tenkan-sen is when the new candle opens up. Will act as resistance for the 30-year Treasury bonds going forward, and we do still continue to have support at this 161.03 level. Let's look at the 10-year. Those fibs look to be from potentially from daily. Yes, those are daily fibs also. All right, let's look at the daily fibs since I have. These fibs have been very interesting. We see that the 61A level has been very important on the daily. It was acting as a resistance level. we came down and tested the 38.2 down here, put in a bounce off that, and now we're back at the 61.8 at 129.155. So keep an eye on that 129.155. We weren't able to get above it last week or the week before. So take those off and go back to the weekly. So in the weekly time frame, ZN did put in a close over the Kijun-sen, but is nowhere near the Tenkan-sen resistance. So if we do move higher on ZN, we could look to find resistance at the Tenkan-sen at 130, 170, or wherever the Tenkan-sen is at when the new candle opens up. We also have potential resistance at this level at the 129.20, 129.200 level, whatever you want to call it. And if we do find sellers, we do have potential support at the Kijun-sen at 129.050. If we lose the Kijun-sen, then we have some support down here at the 128.090, just horizontal support level. Also, that the Chikou will come into support at the top of the cloud this week at around 128.055. So that's potential support level. That's been support previously here. Or we could come down and test the cloud potentially at 127.245 if we do move lower on the 10-year. But overall, this chart is mostly bullish, except the fact that it's under the Tenkan-sen is not perfectly bullish, but the Chikou is above the cloud here. The nature of the cloud is very thin and very flat far into the end of the summer, so that's not particularly bullish in itself for ZN. Let's look at the dollar. I do have these nice fibs on here for the dollar. The dollar's been very interesting. I drew these from this open up here to this close down here. The swing time period from around this time last year. We see that we came down and we closed right at this 23.6 fib area. We actually traded below it and closed here, so when I ran the fibs, I was surprised and curious to find that out. We are neutral in Ichimoku terms as far as the dollar goes currently. Price action is inside the cloud. If we do move lower, we can expect that this 94.28 level will be important. It was obviously important in the past. You see these two candles found support at that level. This tail sort of found support down there. These candles over back here found support in that area. If we do bounce higher, we can potentially look for resistance around this the 38.2 level, which is around, let's call it around 96. We also have the top of the cloud here offering potential resistance at 95.93 if we do get a move higher from here on the dollar. Let's look at coffee, because everybody's been talking about coffee, been making a strong bullish move. Coffee's been bear flagging for a long time, consolidation zone, and actually over the last 3 weeks put in a pretty monstrous move to the upside and actually closed inside the cloud last week. So coffee has moved from being bearish into being neutral in Ichimoku terms. We do have a potential bull cross here of the Tenkan-sen potentially crossing over the Kijun-sen here, so do keep an eye on that. There's lots of room for price to go higher inside neutral. It won't be bullish until we get up to 170. So we do have some potential resistance in the 136.75 area for coffee, so do keep an eye on that level as well if we do move higher on coffee. Let's look at some ags. Let's look at live cattle. Live cattle is still bearish under the cloud. Last week it put in a potential reversal candle, so it's possible that we could see a move lower and potentially come back down and test the Tenkan-sen at 134.10. If we do move higher, we are going to run into the cloud at this prior support and resistance level at 143. Let's call it 143. Let's call it this level, wherever this level is. Let's see. Let's call it 143, thereabouts for LE. Let's look at the lean hogs. Similar situation. Lean hogs are coming up and being thwarted by the bottom of the cloud here. They have been unable to get over the cloud for the last several weeks. We do have a bull cross here, and the Tenkan-sen is crossed over the Kijun-sen. We do have a higher cloud, so when the new candle opens up, it can go a little bit higher. But you know, there's tails in that area anyway, so it's really got to get above the 72.25 level thereabouts in order to go from being bearish to neutral. Also, we see the Chikou is sort of tangled up in these in the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen right here as well. Well, the market is open now, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you for watching my video. If you're interested in learning more about Ichimoku, please visit my website at CloudChartist.com. You're welcome to hit me up on Twitter at CloudChartist if you want to ask me any questions and make any chart requests. Do give me a thumbs up on YouTube if you appreciate this video. It will give me better bandwidth apparently if I collect thumbs ups on YouTube. I guess that's how it works. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and have a good rest of the weekend, and good luck trading this week.